Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the guy that would never be seen in an invisible jet, and it's time to get out your massive 19-incher because Wonder Woman 84 is now out online. If you haven't seen the other 83 movies before it, then don't worry because we're going to be breaking it all down, pointing out some of the Easter eggs and giving our thoughts, whilst also providing some crap jokes to accompany the piece. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button if you think Gal Gadot is hot enough to make Kevin Feige say all hell Darkseid, and please subscribe for videos like this each and every day. Merry Christmas to everyone, ho ho ho. Now let's get into the breakdown. Okay, so the film starts off with a flashback to Diana's childhood in what seems to be a couple of years after she was given permission to train. At an Olympic-themed games event, she shows that she's far ahead of the adults, and at one point dives off a platform in a way that's a clear callback to the first film in which she did something similar. Not long after, the character falls off her horse, and she takes a shortcut in order to get ahead. It looks like there might not be a punishment for this, but upon reaching the finish line, she's disqualified from the race by her Aunt Antiope in a move that's certain to ruin Christmas. Now, though seemingly disconnected from what's to come, this scene actually sets up a big theme that's laced throughout the movie. From the introduction, we get the idea that if one is willing to cheat and take shortcuts in order to get what they want, then that will lead to them losing a lot in the long run, and it reflects the general motif of the Dreamstone and Maxwell Lord. The Dreamstone is pretty much the MacGuffin of the movie, and juxtaposing Diana's lasso of truth, we learn that it's powered by lies. They have an excellent way of bringing the beautiful lies theme over from Batman v Superman in order to tie this film in with the greater universe, and it's definitely one of the more intriguing plot devices in the DCEU. When holding it, one can wish for what their heart desires, however it has a monkey paw effect, and though it gives the bearer whatever they want, it also takes something in return. Even the guy who just wishes for a coffee burns his mouth, and yeah, sometimes just be careful what you wish for. Now, Lord gets it at one point in the film, and his greed makes him wish to become it, in what's basically the comic book movie equivalent of a wish for a million wishes. Lord is very much based on Donald Trump, and whilst I don't want to go into my personal opinion on him, as far as the film goes, it clearly portrays him as someone who promises a lot, but in turn takes more than he gives. Lord is a con man, a television personality who tells people what they want to hear, and he works his way up to the presidency. It's about as subtle as Henry Cavill's mustache, but the reality of the situation is that when everyone gets what they want, everyone loses out. Fueled by a childhood in which his father made him feel poor and insignificant, he's come to believe that materialism equals power, and that the life he's always dreamed of should be his no matter the cost. He was called a loser, and doesn't want to appear like one to his own son, who becomes central to bringing him back from the brink. Now, all the metaphors aside, I really appreciated the film's tiebacks to the source material, and in the comics he originally started off as someone without powers, but over the years he's evolved into a character that could influence people telepathically. This brought on nosebleeds, which too becomes present in the movie, and the film very much condenses his long and rich history into one arc. Pascal provides one of the best performances in the movie, and what's crazy is that he actually featured in the failed Wonder Woman project from a couple of years back, so hey, glad he got his wish to finally sort it all out. They also have an appearance from Simon Stagg, who you may know from the Arkham Knight game and DC Comics. Now, the film obviously takes place on the most part in 1984, and we pick up to find Diana helping where she can whilst also remaining anonymous. She takes out security cameras, doesn't brand people, and though it's not a foolproof explanation, we can understand why Bruce and BVS had never heard of her. Diana has very much lived a life of solitude since the death of Steve Trevor, and though we see that she kept in touch with her old unit, it appears that many of them have passed on. We see photos of the chief freeing Jews in the Holocaust, and Etta, who also took a boat ride with Diana to what I believe might be Metropolis. Clark of course rode across the harbour to Gotham in BVS, but I might be reaching, yeah, won't be the first time happening, but it's Christmas, yeah, let me off. Now, Diana stares longingly at planes that echo how Steve passed, and she's very much still grieving, so I hope no one is a jerk and tells her to get over it. Though she's often found Dianing alone, it's not too long before she crosses paths with Barbara Minerva. The pair discover the Dreamstone after it's brought in from a heist, and when holding it, they both make a wish. Diana wishes that Steve would return, whilst Barbara wishes to be like Diana, which of course brings a lot with it. Steve is brought back through possessing another man, and initially all Diana sees is him. However, after concentrating, she sees the true person within, and this allows Steve to exist without raising questions amongst other people. Although they are together, as we mentioned earlier, there is a trade-off and she loses her powers. Barbara gains some, but in return, she loses her warmth and humanity, and slowly becomes a bit of a jerk. Now the former aspect is very similar to Superman 2, as in that Clark wished to have a normal life with the one he loved, but in turn he lost his abilities. I think DC is very much paying homage to that movie, especially throughout this, and in my opinion, yeah, it works quite well. Now, whereas in the first film, Diana was very much the fish out of water, here it's Steve, and they even do a callback to the trying on outfits scene from that film with some updated gear for the boy. There's also a train moment similar to how there was in the original movie, and they are clearly referencing what came before with the callbacks. Now Lord becomes the Dreamstone and he works his way back from financial ruin. Diana and Steve attempt to take it back, and they bring the invisible jet across in a brilliant way. Channeling the same magic that her father Zeus used to hide their mascara from sight, she turns the plane invisible, and the pair arrive at Egypt for a big action scene. They're defeated, and this is when Diana discovers she's weakened, and this is where she learns about the truth of the stone. They realize that if one renounces their wish that things can return to normal, but Barbara has other ideas and doesn't want to fade into the background once more. I love how she pretty much fit the 80s stereotype of the nerd girl turned hot, and she actually makes for a brilliant baddie in my opinion. Now when Steve and Diana try and confront Lord again at the White House, Barbara attacks them and he's able to get away with the influence of the president and access to his special communications device. This global broadcast satellite allows every TV on the planet to be taken over so that Lord is actually able to reach out and touch all those on Earth. You know, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself and I had no idea how this actually worked, but apparently because the particles touched people, Lord could be connected with them. Just don't ask. Now Steve realizes that the world is doomed if he doesn't make Diana renounce her wish, and the two have a heartbreaking farewell in which she shouts goodbye to him before soaring off into the air. Her flight here very much resembles Clark's in Man of Steel, and in some ways I see her doing this in order to connect with Steve through the thing he loved. Diana goes and gets the golden Asteria armor and she travels to take down Lord, which is when we discover that Barbara has transformed herself into an apex predator with the help of Lord's abilities. Everyone getting their wish causes the world to descend into chaos, and it's one hell of a finale that still looks better than 2020. We get a great Cheetah vs Wonder Woman showdown whilst Lord grants people's wishes across the world, taking things from them in order to make himself more powerful. Diana manages to bust Cheetah up, and she ends up confronting Lord in what is a climactic ending. Lord promises to give her Steve back if she stops, and though she wants it more than her heart can bear, she does accept that he's gone. She knows everything has a price, and that she isn't willing to pay it in order to be happy. Reaching out to the world, she pleads with them to renounce their wishes to a beautiful lie, saying that you cannot have it all, you can only have the truth, which should be enough. Everyone has things that only they have, and to want more is to be greedy, which will only lead to the downfall of others. She puts the lasso of truth around Lord so that he can no longer lie to the world and make them promises that he can't keep. In doing so, the power of truth from the lasso also goes through him and into the communications device where it shines across the world, showing humanity what it can be. Lord too sees the truth of the matter, and that he's destroyed the planet, put his son in danger, and thus he renounces his wish, meaning that he can be with his child. This pattern of behaviour happens across the world, and things revert back to how they were, almost like someone flew backwards around the world. Now Lord returns to his son and admits that he made mistakes and is a bit of a loser, but that his son will never have to make a wish in order to have him love him. He knows he's nothing to be proud of, but that he will try his best. His son fires back by saying he loves him unconditionally, and I'm not crying, it's the deadbeat dads that are crying right now. Now the movie ends with Diana at Christmas witnessing the holiday cheer whilst getting smacked in the back of the head by stupid brats with snowballs. I hate them. The man who had his body taken over by Steve shows up, and this should have been a bit more awkward because they've banged, but it was quite a nice moment. Although they don't hug up, he says that she made his day, and the movie ends with us thinking that Diana could finally let Steve go and one day be happy again like he wanted her to be. We see a world filled with joy and celebration, and it feels like the perfect message of hope that we need in 2020. A child's balloon floats up, and Diana looks to the sky much like how she did with the airplanes that reminded her of Steve, but this time she's happy and accepting that things have changed. That ends the movie, but because it's a comic book one, you know we're getting a post-credit scene, and in that we see Asteria being played by none other than Lynda Carter. Throughout the movie, we heard legends of this figure, and the last time that Asteria was seen by the Amazonians, she was holding off Spartans in what could be a Zack Snyder 300 tribute. Since then, Diana believed that she may be out in civilization, lying low much like how she was, and this is confirmed here. Asteria says that she's been doing this a long time, and by that, she likely means saving people and not dressing up as Wonder Woman. I've already done a full breakdown on this scene and how the cameo came about, and also the ins and outs of how it was teased at DC Fandom. However, in that video, I mistakenly said that I think this teased towards the next film taking place in the 80s, with the pair meeting up. Since then, Patty Jenkins has came forward and clarified that the third Wonder Woman will actually be taking place in the present, after the events of Justice League, so we finally know what happens next. Now though that's the case, it doesn't negate my theory that Carter, or rather Asteria, will become somewhat of a mentor figure to Diana. I think due to the characters both being pretty much ageless, that they can set it at any time period and have the pair still work together. Going forward, I think that Diana will track her down, and we will learn the truth about where she's been and what it is that she's been up to since disappearing. They do a great job of making her seem like Gal from behind. I think this has been done to suggest just how close the two will be linked. Whatever year it's set in, I'm still hyped, and I have to say that I really enjoyed Wonder Woman 1984. I've been lucky enough to see the film twice now, and for me it's better than the original movie, which I think was let down by a weak third act that relied too heavily on CGI. Here it's more about the message, and there's a big feeling of hope which is strongly needed in 2020. Wonder Woman is a great period piece. I think every actor does a lot with what they're given. I had a lot of fun with it, and for me it's probably in the top 3 DCEU movies, with Man of Steel and the extended edition of Batman v Superman maybe ranking above it. I am hyped to watch it again though, and it gets an 8.5 out of 10. Now don't forget that on the 30th of December we're giving away 3 copies of the Lord of the Rings 4K box set to our subscribers. All you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the film. The links to our socials are in the description, and you can also support the channel by clicking the join button below, and as a thank you, you get videos like this early. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the post-credits scene, which sort of goes into more detail on what we think is going to be happening. Anyway, that pretty much brings the video to a close. Thank you for sitting through it, and again, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. You take care of yourself for the rest of the year, and hey, I love you. Goodbye, peace.